that how many of us, every year we think, you know what, I'm going to read lots of Quran, I'm going to make a khatam of the Quran, I'm going to make a completion of the Quran. We start with the first juz, it's going really well. The next day we get onto the second juz, it's going really well. Third day, fourth day, fifth day, I get a bit lazy, it gets difficult, I'm not able to do it. By now I've not done it, I'm thinking I can't complete the Quran, and so I just think, forget it, what's the point of even reciting? Maybe I'll just open the Quran when other people are reading, pretend, open up to a random page, read a little bit, pretend I'm doing my khatam, when in reality, deep down, I know I'm not doing any of this. And this is the reality that I need to understand. So let's first understand what is Ramadan, because when you go into Ramadan with the mindset, I'm going to complete a Quran, that's damaging. That's damaging our approach to Ramadan. Understand what Ramadan is. And by extension, this is the philosophy I want to teach you through Hajj, through Umrah, through all of these different aspects Allah has given us. The objective of Ramadan is it's a training ground. That's it. Ramadan is a training ground. It's not a test. It's not, I need to finish this in Ramadan. Ramadan is where you go for training. Umrah is where you go for training. Hajj is where you go for training. You will not go for Umrah and feel this special spirituality, and then you'll be like, everything's perfect just instantly. And the scholars talk about this, that why when I'm in Umrah, why don't I feel it? You know, everybody when they come back from Umrah, they're like, it was an amazing experience, it was this, changed my life, this, that. But when I go Umrah, I don't feel it. The first few days I'm on it. After that, I'm missing Salah, or I'm missing the Adhan, or I'm coming late to this. And it's like, I just don't want to do Sunan, I don't want to do Nafal, I'm just sat there, we're going out to eat, we're going out to do this and that. Why can I not benefit from the Umrah? Because we're thinking this is the goal. We're thinking this is the destination. Umrah is the training ground. When you walk into the gym, you don't go into the gym looking at the mirror thinking, how does it look? I look good. No. The objective of the gym is, this is where I'm going to pump iron. This is where I'm going to put effort in. This is where I'm going to put a lot of work in. When we go for Umrah, the only thing Allah has done for us is He has made the circumstances easier. He has made it easier for us to work out. If you work out at home, it's not the same as when you go into a gym. Everybody around you is working out. There's no distractions. Everybody's focused. It motivates you to do something. That's what it is. It's a training ground. If I approach Ramadan like this is the month where everything will be easier, we're going wrong. The month of Ramadan is where I say, I am going to put my effort into this. It's not going to be easy. It might not even be fun. It might not even be enjoyable, but that's not what training is about. When a person's going into boxing and they're about to have a major fight, they will have a training camp beforehand. The question is, why doesn't this person have, it's like a 10-week training camp or something around that. Why don't they just do this the whole year? Because the mental state of mind, it's impossible to keep that going consistently. The amount of cutting this person does, the amount of diet work this person does, the amount of effort that goes into a training camp, it's impossible. You're making yourself into a monster. That's the objective of what training camp is. You're going to extremes. And you have all of these things around you that help you. Ramadan is where you push yourself to this limit. But the objective is not Ramadan. The objective is after Ramadan. I go into Ramadan thinking I'm going to do my completion. And when I get to the third day, the fourth day, I've messed up and I've missed my Quran, I've missed my juz. And I'm thinking, I can't finish the Quran now. Who said you have to finish a Quran in Ramadan? This is your training ground. If you get 29, you've done good. If you get 25, you've done good. If you recite consistently every single day, you've done something. So now this is how I approach Ramadan. Let me give you my approach. And this is what I want you to try. When you come into Ramadan, before Ramadan, when it comes to the Quran, let's talk about reading, reciting. Fix a minimum. Fix a minimum, even if it's one side. I'm not saying go fancy. I'm not saying go crazy. A minimum is supposed to be small. Maybe you will fix every day I will recite minimum one side. And you will say, I'll do it at this time. Now, let's say you come into the month of Ramadan and your time was after Dhuhr. But after Dhuhr, you are at work, you were busy, you were committed, you didn't read your one side. Because it's a minimum, when the night comes and you're about to go to sleep, you have that guilt. I had a minimum. I'm going to push myself. I'm in the training ground. I will get up and I will read that one side. I will read that one side. When you've read that one side, ask yourself, do I want to continue? If you continue, alhamdulillah. If you say, no, that's all I can do right now, that's it. Your minimum is complete. Day 2, I will now sit down. Now, let's say on day 1, I said to myself, I'm going to read one side, and I read one side, and now I think, you know what, I'm going to read another 2 sides. I'm just going to read, I've got a bit of time, let's see what happens. And you start reading, and you end up reading 3 sides. The next day, don't say, I read 3 sides yesterday, I'm going to read 3 sides. No, my minimum is 1 side. I'm going to read my 1 side. No matter what happens, I will find a time, I will make time, and I will read that 1 side. If you miss your antibiotic, the doctor says every 6 hours, and you miss it, and now it's the 7th hour, what do you say? Oh, I missed it, forget it, throw the whole antibiotics away, I'm not going to do it. Take it late. I'll take it later if I have to take it later. This is my spiritual development. How am I supposed to cleanse myself spiritually if I'm not willing to say, I missed the timing, no problem, but I will not miss my tablet for today. I will not miss my 1 side for today. That might not be your minimum. Your minimum might be 1 ruku. Your minimum might be 2 sides, 3 sides. It might be a quarter. Everybody in their life has a minimum. You know the scholars that read so much Quran, they don't read so much Quran because that's their target. They read so much Quran because they have a minimum. And the benefit of studying Arabic is if you make your minimum 1 verse, you read 1 verse, and that verse draws you in, and it pulls you in. And you say, let me read another verse, and another verse, and another verse. And if you understand the meanings, it makes it easier just to be then lost in this reading. And so nobody comes, none of the scholars are like, you know, they're busy, everybody's busy, everybody has commitments. Nobody sits down with this thingy that I'm going to read every day 3 juz and this and that, and I'm going to smash it. No, people struggle with this, but they say, I'm going to do my minimum. And when they start that minimum, because of their engagement with the Quran over years, they're able to then immerse themselves within it. If we're not at that stage, I will still at least say, I'll do my minimum. And I'll give you an example. Those of you who have started exercising or gym or something like that, my examples revolve around gym. I don't know why, I'm the least gym looking guy, but so when a person starts going to the gym, initially it's difficult. When a person starts dieting, initially it's difficult. But ask them, after a point, there comes a stage where I enjoy this. This is my thing. Somebody's eating this and it's eating that, and you just feel this that kind of strength. I don't need that. I don't need that. And you get into it. And then what do they call them? Gym freaks or something. I don't know. There's an actual word for it. Gym rat. I don't know what they call it. But they get really into it. And that's the same thing with the Quran. But we have to allow ourselves. So when it comes to reciting, and where am I getting this whole principle from? You might think, where is he getting this from? Everybody says, read 1 Quran, read 1 juz, read this. It's from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Ahabbul a'mali ila Allah, adwamuha wa in qalla." The most beautiful, beloved actions to Allah. When I read this hadith, I think, the most beloved actions to Allah, what's it going to be? Tahajjud? It's going to be this, it's going to be something crazy. And Allah says, Ahabbul a'mali ila Allah, adwamuha wa in qalla. Those that are consistent, even if they are qalla, even if they are small. When did Allah want you to do tahajjud the whole night? That's shaitan saying this to you, that's it now. We're going to do everything tonight. We're going to change. We're going to do this. And the next night, there's nothing. Ask a person who starts the gym. If they do everything on one day, it's consistent, slow, over a period of time, you make it happen. The change happens over a period of time. I'm using these examples to show you that the same principles will apply in your religion as they do in real life. Because our life is connected with, our religion is interacting with our life. And so when we're engaging, we're going to sit down, maybe on my mobile, maybe in a book, maybe I'll buy a book, and I'll write inside of it, my target is this on a daily basis. This will be my minimum. Now, again, even target, no, we're not going to use targets. Don't use targets, use minimums. Use minimums. The target will be whatever. When I sit down, I'll think of a target then. But for us at this stage, it's minimums. My minimum is this. That's how we're going to engage with reciting the Quran. Along with engaging with the Quran, it's understanding the Quran. Now, some of us might decide to use a translation of the Quran. I might decide to sit down and say, okay, my minimum target for translation might be to read this. But that might be difficult. because some people struggle with translations. And so what I would say is, better than that is if you can find a lecture, if you find a lecture you can attend where there is a tafsir or some sort of focus on the Quran taking place, attend that. Along with reciting, I need to develop understanding. Along with reciting, I need to develop understanding. Very, very important. So that is understanding the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is about engaging with the Quran in a meaningful manner. If you don't know what translations to use, if you think there's too many translations in the market, I'll give you some names. Dr. Mustafa Khattab, he has a very nice translation, the Clear Quran. You can go on Quran.com and you can go onto different websites and you can look for different translations. And one of them I would recommend is Dr. Mustafa Khattab. Another really good one is Mufti Taqi Uthmani. In my understanding and my reading, I've read a bunch of tafsirs and translations, and with the Arabic students, we've gone through this to some extent. But Mufti Taqi Uthmani has a phenomenal translation. I'm not talking a tafsir, I'm not talking a translation of the Quran. He takes into account a lot of the grammatical nuances and he makes it flow as well. Right? There is also Professor Abdul Halim, Dr. Abdul Halim. He also has a translation. So these three I recommend. There are others. I'm not, kind of discounting any other and saying that these aren't good and that and that. I'm saying these are ones that I would generally recommend, that are easily accessible, etc. So we're going to recite the Quran. We're going to engage with the Quran in this month. Have a recitation amount that you fix. If you don't know how to recite, learn how to recite. Learn how to recite. If you don't know how to learn, come to me and ask me, how do I learn to read the Quran? That's something that we have to do. Yes, it's embarrassing at first, but it will be embarrassing this year. Next year, when you're reciting Quran, you'll be like, it was worth it. How many years am I going to say, I don't know how to recite, but I'm not going to ask, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed? If we have enough people, we can start a Quran class here. And we can learn how to read Quran. By the end of Ramadan, we'll start from the alphabet and we can learn how to read the Quran. But you have to approach and say, I'm struggling with this, or this is an issue I have.